Can you hear us?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Awesome. All right, we're going to get started. First of all, thank you for joining us before we head to Daytona this weekend. And we're going to go straight to questions. For our first question, we're going to go with Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, William, I was wondering if you could look back to a year ago at Daytona and tell me kind of how I don't want to say desperate you were, but I guess my question is, does the line change of what you were willing to do a year ago, knowing maybe what you had to do to get in the playoffs versus this year and just trying to win?
Yeah, I think the pressure throughout the week is a lot easier. I'm definitely not as tensed up or thinking about, the moment and what I'm going to do to execute a good race. Just kind of going in there with, just to have fun. I mean, obviously you try to have fun every week, but it's a lot more stressful each week. This week is kind of easier on me. And obviously I feel like the speedway races we've been good on. And I feel like my plate racing kind of, IQ has gone up, but for me, there's not a lot of pressure involved. And I don't envy the position of the other guys that are in that position to try to either they have to win or they're right there on the bubble for the points. So it's a tough position to be in.
And I don't know how much preparation you've done yet. It's like kind of looking ahead to the playoffs, but I'm curious when you look at what Chase Elliott did last year, pretty good, but then, wins the last two races and wins the championship. Is everything almost focused on that last round and Phoenix?
It is. I think that the regular season has kind of a feel of its own because you're constantly trying to win to get more bonus points. Everyone's trying to chase the bonus points because it's such a big deal, and that's kind of the big factor in the regular season. But in the grand scheme of things, the difference in 5 points in the playoffs is important, but you just got to go out there and execute. So we've spent a lot of time talking about each race in that first round. And I feel like Darlington, we ran well. Richmond, we ran well. Obviously, we don't have an idea on Bristol yet, but I think we can improve just a little bit on both of those tracks that we ran already and try to put ourselves in a good position in that first round. So, yeah, like you said, it's kind of all about the playoffs at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question is going to come from Alex Andrea. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, William. Kind of actually a similar question as what Bob just asked, but does that, I guess, knowing that you're in this different point situation than you were last year, does it change kind of where you try to race in the pack? And I guess also just knowing that there are other guys that are in that position that you were in, does that change anything about where you race?
It does. I think for me, I'd love to get the stage wins, but realistically, I think that our goal is to get to the end and have a shot to win. That's really the big goal is trying to get the 5 bonus points for the playoffs. Try to also get a good starting spot for Darlington. And those two things are kind of first and foremost. But in the grand scheme of things, like Rudy and I talked about, it's not a huge deal either way. So I feel like for us, it's about having fun, trying to go out there, get another win, and continue to kind of learn some things and build some things for Talladega. Obviously, the package is different, less horsepower than we've had. So I think we're going to be going quite a bit slower. And that's going to play a role too in trying to learn the draft and trying to learn the aero package for the next race in the playoffs. So, I kind of just try to take the temperature on the draft and what's a safe position to be in. And if I can be up front the whole race, then great. But if I get shuffled back and it feels too dicey, then yeah, I'll try to make it to the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question will come from Chris Estrada. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, William. Thanks for joining us. Right now, you're only 5 points behind Kyle Busch for third in the regular season standings. That would get you 8 additional playoff points. You've already said that you're focused on trying to make it to the end on Saturday, but how do you balance that out with trying to go all out, trying to get as many playoff points as you can, knowing that those could be the difference between advancing on or being eliminated in postseason?
Yeah, it's definitely on our mind. I felt like, us and Kyle, we've been close the last 3 races. I think we, obviously had that unfortunate thing at Indy with the curb, and that hurt us in the points. So we're, probably 5 points, I think, behind him, and it'd be really nice to get that position. Kyle's a good plate racer. He's gotten, better and better, I feel like, every time, and closer to a win, and he's going to be tough to beat. So we just got to keep tabs on him, try to race as hard as we can, and hopefully we can finish the race third in points. And yeah, like you said, I think the difference is only 1 point between me and him, third versus fourth, but still it'd be a good one to have.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question will come from Kyle Dalton. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, William. So last week, Ross Chastain made an interesting comment about how he used to be fearful going into super speedway races just because at the end of the race, there's going to be the big one. I mean, it's always talked about the big one. So I'm just curious. I know you're professional. Your job is to focus on winning the race. But as a person that's going in, that there's the potential at the end of a race for the big one. So how do you approach it? How do you calm yourself focusing on, the task at hand, knowing that could come at the very end of the race?
I think no, that's a good question. I think I've grown more at peace with it as my skill has kind of improved on those tracks. So obviously there's a lot out of your control at those places, but I do feel like as I've improved and led more laps and been in more positions to win or finish in the top 5, it's made the end of the race easier, and it's made the end of the race more about how can I make the right move and less about how can I avoid a wreck. So I do think the first handful of, super speedway races, I wasn't really comfortable with it. And I didn't really like the end of the race because I knew a wreck was coming and I wasn't really willing to take those risks that, or didn't really know how to take the right risk. So yeah, I think your mindset changes as you improve and you focus more on trying to win.
Very good. Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question will come from Cole. Go ahead, Cole.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for your time, William. You mentioned the importance of execution in the playoffs. So I'm curious, what's something you guys have been working on as a team all season to execute in preparation for the postseason to establish yourselves as championship contenders?
I think we started the year really, really strong, with the win in the third race. And then after that, we were in the top 10, felt like every week for a while. And, that came down to just execution and having the balance of our car close. Those were all racetracks that Rudy and I hadn't been to together. So he was kind of just using the notebook of Chad and the other crew chiefs to kind of figure out what to do. And then we went through the summer and I thought we had speed, but we didn't execute. We kind of left that behind. And a lot of some of it was on my end, some of it was on the team. And we just kind of needed to clean it up. And I feel like after the summer break, we've really been a top 5 team every week. So I think we're really capable right now of executing well. We've gotten kind of back to our roots in that and made our race cars just a little bit better, I think. So I feel like we just have to continue to execute. It sounds simple, but it's really hard. So just try to keep that going like we did in the early part of the season, and hopefully the wins will come.
Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next question will come from Justin Long. Go ahead, Justin.
Thank you, William. Looking back at last year's Daytona race at the end, and obviously, I know you guys pitted with 10, 12 to go, and you were 15th at that point before the 2 big wrecks.
Yeah.
Looking back, what did you do right in those last few laps, and how you handled in forcing the issue and not forcing the issue? And I know some of it was certainly luck with missing the 37 on one wreck and getting between the 22 and the 43 on the other.
Yeah, it's I think every speedway race that you win or do well, there's a little bit of both. I think there's always a little bit of luck and there's always a little bit of skill. So I don't think any of the plate races, the guys who win them are pretty much the guys who should win them, I feel like, especially lately. You know, Denny's won a lot of them. McDowell's become a good plate racer. It wasn't really a surprise that he won the 500 to the competitors, maybe to the outside it was. But I think in that race in specific, I feel like we were a good car, but our car needed tires to handle well enough to make the aggressive moves. So I think we were running about 5th or 6th before we pitted. And we kind of knew we weren't going to have the ability to go up there and get the lead with the way our car was handling. So we came down, put tires on, restarted in the back, and we weren't really stuck, or we were stuck for a couple laps, but I knew with our tire advantage, once we got a lane to run in and could make drafting moves, I felt fine about it. So really fortunate to miss the one big wreck. And then really kind of the move with the 22 and the 43 was all about the way that, you know, we were handling and the confidence I had to split the gap. So those guys kind of banged off each other, and there was enough of a gap there to squeeze in and put it 4 wide. And that was definitely kind of the race winning move. So I think a lot of it had to do with knowing our race car, you know, being confident in the moves I can make. And then, yeah, getting lucky that a tire didn't go down when I kind of split the gap.
And you were talking earlier about just, you know, learning and being more comfortable with making the moves as opposed to worrying about being caught in a crash at the end at these tracks. And I'm curious about how that mindset, you know, were the challenges in trying to get to that point, and how you were able to get to that point where you became more comfortable. I'm sure there's lots of little things as you move up to the cup level that you're trying to think about and at different tracks. And this was just, you know, this is kind of interesting thing what you're talking about. I was just kind of trying to get a better understanding about how this was compared to other concerns you had at other places or other things with racing at the cup level, and how you kind of got through that.
Yeah. So I feel like with plate racing in 2018 and then 19 especially, I led some laps on those tracks, and that was kind of the first, okay, I can do it. You know, and early on, I led laps early in a race, and then I started to lead them later and later as the intensity kind of got higher and higher. And I started to realize, I was like, man, you know, I just continue to kind of bump that speed up to where it's closer and closer to the end. And then I would wreck, or I would get wrecked. Or, you know, I remember in the playoffs in October of 19, we were actually in a good position to advance, leading the race, and got, you know, off center with a push and got turned into the 22. And that was one of the hardest wrecks I've ever taken. I think I got hit driver's side, you know, as I was going down the back stretch. So that kind of was one of those moments like, okay, I'm close to winning these races. I just have to deal with the fact that I'm probably going to get hit pretty hard if I wreck. And I just kind of got over that and started to be more and more aggressive and get that, you know, chance at the end to take chances and try to win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question will come from Michael Shelton. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. Well, William, you're coming off the runner-up finish at Michigan last weekend, which you said coming in second place stinks, but 25 races into this season, you've already posted career highs in top 5s, top 10s, laps led, and your average finish. And of course, you won earlier in the season to clinch your playoff berth. I was just curious, what kind of goals did you have starting this season, and whether you think your results so far have been consistent with those goals? And also just how much being on a team with Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, how much that has pushed you to achieve what you have done so far this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, yeah, we've kind of performed better in some ways than I thought we would. Probably less in the laps led category. I think we still have some room to go there to lead more consistently in races, but we have led in a lot of different races, so that's been good. You know, so it shows we have speed. But yeah, I think as far as the teammates go, I think that, you know, we started the year knowing that Kyle and Chase were going to be really good, and that Alex was going to be really good. He's won a race each year in his Cup Series career. So with Hendrick. So yeah, we knew our teammates were going to, you know, keep us really honest. It was kind of all about us clicking well. And, we were able to win that race early, and kind of battle with our teammates for that one. And that was a big confidence boost. So ever since then, it's just been all about trying to execute and put ourselves in good positions. And I feel like we've been close to a number of wins.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take one final question, and that will come from Nathan Solomon. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, William, kind of going back to last weekend at Michigan, NASCAR had that resin down in the corners instead of PJ1. Ryan Blaney thought it was kind of a good middle ground between having PJ1 and then nothing at all. So I'm kind of curious if you agree with that, and then just, your overall thoughts on maybe using resin more down the road on some of these intermediates.
Yeah, I think, I was always kind of against the PJ1 because I felt like it was unpredictable and it was causing a lot of crashes, in practice when we watched the Truck Series or Xfinity guys go out there and crash right away. That's not really fair. It's not necessarily driver error. Some of it's the track, so I think the resin has made the track more forgiving. I know for a fact when I, went to block the 11 this week and held him off, I was up there in the resin way too high because he, the contact there and saved it and kept going. I don't know if that would have happened with the PJ1. So I think it's better to not have something on the track that's detrimental, and makes you race more cautiously. So I feel like having a little bit more grip and an option to go to, but not necessarily something that's dominant, is perfect. So maybe the resin does that and we can, not have as many crashes up there.
Thanks.
All right, William, thank you so much again for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys.